Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. After record payouts last year to shareholders, the Royal Mail recently this year announced huge half-year losses and plans to cut 10,000 jobs, while threatening the cherished universal service obligation, which guarantees a minimum 6-day-a-week letter delivery service in the tradition of the black penny from 1840. Why has his government not yet committed to investigate the mismanagement and cack-handed mismanagement of this iconic British service and protecting its future and loyal postal workers?
Mr Speaker, again, I have nothing but gratitude and appreciation for the hard work of our postal workers. But when it is not the right approach. It is not the right approach to go on strike, especially demanding pay, as we have heard, that is simply unaffordable for hard-working British taxpayers. The Honourable Lady would do well.
Taxpayers? Rishi, Royal Mail was privatised in 2013. The taxpayers are not going to be funding the posties' wages. That's going to have to come out of the hundreds of millions of pounds worth of shareholder dividends that are being given out at the moment. The reason, to make sure everyone knows, right? The reason why Simon Thompson, the CEO of Royal Mail, who we'll be getting to, I will fucking get to him. Actually, I'll get to him fucking now. Fuck it, we'll do it right now. The reason why Simon Thompson is so desperate to try and drive down people's wages, but the surrender document that they put up, they're trying to force the union to agree to, involved essentially getting rid of that, as she was saying in the question, getting rid of the British institution that is the Royal Mail, by changing it into just yet another unreliable gig economy courier service. By not giving people a proper pay rise and changing the hours that they have, getting rid of, as I said, the guaranteed 6-day-a-week new kind of delivery slots, etc., right? Just turning into another DHL competitor. The reason why they're doing this is because they want to maximise share price by driving down wages and conditions, by firing and rehiring, bringing in agency workers on 20% less pay as well. Having done so, to try and maximise share price to a sell-off to a private equity firm from Luxembourg, right? It's crazy how so many people who call themselves British patriots are so adamant that the private equity firms from other countries should be able to buy up cherished British institutions and then essentially destroy what they have been forever, right? These are all the fucking royalists. It's the fucking Royal Mail, for Christ's sake. And these are the people who actually genuinely like the concept of the monarchy and what that represents. But they're like, well, shareholders got a shareholder. Well, I guess we're going to have to let the Luxembourg-based private equity firm destroy British jobs, destroy British conditions, destroy British institutions, right? Just because we believe so hard in capitalism that we will literally get rid of every single one of our other beliefs that we say that we hold dear, because really they only hold those beliefs performatively. They don't really care about the monarchy. They don't really care about Britishness. They just use that as something that they can do to attack their political opponents for nebulous bullshit. When it comes down to brass tacks, when it comes down to who's drilling our oil, who's running our trains, who owns Royal Mail, all of these are the precious British institutions, or our own, or the actual, the natural resources of the land of this country, right? They're very, very happy to let foreign entities strip them to the bone and destroy the lives of the actual people in this country who work for these companies, right? But these people are so fucking cucked, they're so cucked to neoliberal capitalism that they will forget about literally every other value that they hold to be able to protect the fact that shareholders need the money, right? It's nonsense. These people have no fucking political opinions. They just have vibes. That's it. It's just vibes. These people literally have not got a fucking clue what they're talking about. And it's literally, I'm just like, well, we could have saved so much on energy bills if we just had the UK government, a state-owned enterprise, drilling gas in the UK. And we wouldn't be paying hundreds of billions of pounds worth of borrowed money, of new gilts and bonds, to be able to protect the revenue of gas extractors in the own North Sea, to be able to give them their massive shareholder profits, right? This nonsense. These people have no ideology. These people have it's so contradictory. When the last resource is sold, only then will they realise that money doesn't grow on resources. True. Very, very true. It's interesting. Speaking of Royal Mail, there was a very funny moment. Let me find it. I definitely retweeted it. When there was CEO Simon Thompson, the guy you love to hate, right? He was in an interview on I think this is BBC Breakfast, and you can see, right, that when he's being asked questions, there's someone holding up a whiteboard in the background and then telling him what to say. I will show you right now.
The CWU say that you personally didn't even turn up for the last stage of talks. Is that right?
Well, I think that is not true.
So you were at the last stage of the talks?
We had 3 weeks of talks.
You think that it's not true. I think I would have a pretty good idea of whether or not I was in a set of talks myself in person, right? I would have I don't think I would need to be able to consult my own memory of this and be unsure whether I knew I was talking to someone previously or not. What?
Talks with ACAS, which I was very involved with, including over the weekends. And I think we have put our final offer to the CWU. We made 11 concessions based on the feedback from our team.
See,
and I am available at any time at all to make sure that we can discuss exact content of that, to make sure that it's understood. And I would really encourage the CWU to pause and to think about what it is they're doing to cancel this strike action and to help us get on our change agenda so we can continue to give our people the best jobs in the... We made 11 concessions based on the feedback from our team. And I am available at any...
Like, you couldn't make it up. And look at the eye motion as well.
In the industry.
Okay, look at the eyes. It's so obvious he's just being fed lines. That's so fucking funny. It's these people are pathetic. And what's interesting as well, there was a really good interview that the CW put up on TikTok, right? Dave Ward, the GenSec of the union, he's had so many interviews, bless him. He's been putting loads of hard work in to be able to get the message out. And actually, was it on? Might have been on TUC. And he's been clamouring to be able to get Simon Thompson on TV to have a debate. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, Twitch politics time. Let's fucking go. Let's do it. This is the one I think it is. Yeah.
Who want to provide the service, and it's Mr. Thompson who wants to destroy it.
He would say the Royal Mail is losing £1 million a day, and when you strike, he would say it's losing £100 million a day. That's not helping, is it?
Well, look, let me explain that. There's 567 million he gave to shareholders. That's over nearly 2 years worth of £1 million a day. There's over 400 million that he's cut away from Royal Mail, from the international acquisitions, by now handing that over to shareholders rather than supporting Royal Mail. That's a huge amount of money that would have seen us through these difficult times. And had he stuck with the agreement that we did, real modernisation, they would have probably made about £500,000 this year towards that. They walked away from those agreements. There are boardroom power struggles going on here. The company's about to be taken over by a private equity investment group, and that is all that Mr. Thompson and the board care about. Our members, decent, hard-working people who were out there during the pandemic, delivering to 32 million addresses.
It's always the same people as well. It's literally like posties, rail workers and nurses, the people who we were literally clapping during the pandemic, clapping for key workers. And we are continually being told by this Conservative government, by fucking the opposition benches who refuse to actually say whether or not they think the strikes are justified, right? We're continually told that they don't deserve the pay rises for even having done what they did during the pandemic as well. And also considering the fact that they're looking even more like they're going to be getting further real terms pay cuts, especially considering nurses have had continual real terms pay cuts for the past fucking decade.
Addresses every day. Their jobs, their lives and the service that they love is being destroyed. And we are calling on the public now. We're calling on politicians to come out and actually see the truth behind this. Please invite him on with me we'll have a proper debate about the future of UK postal services. And I guarantee you, by the end of that debate, like he was on there today, waving bits of paper around, red face, not knowing what to say to you, swerving every question that you put to him, I guarantee you that he will have to be sacked as soon as that interview is finished. It's the postal work.
I'm down with it. I'm super fucking down. If they have actually had like a Simon Thompson versus Dave Ward debate, that would be like, I hate to be a Twitch stream about it, but that would be peak content. That'd be so fucking good. Let's have a watch and see what Simon Thompson had to say for himself on Sky News.
In the year to March, Royal Mail made an operating profit of £416 million. Last year, £344 million. Why is it you say there's no money to pay a decent cost of living related increase?
Well, Ian, morning. I think that I would like to start today with an apology, please, for our customers. We understand how disruptive the current situation is. And I'd also like to make it clear that the change that we are asking for is the change that our customers want, which is a 7-day parcel service, and including that very important late night orders that are delivered the next day. And I don't think we can ignore the facts. The facts are that we are losing £1 million a day. And the other fact is that...
No, if they wanted that service, they would just go to DHL. I don't see that you're going to give us some kind of consultation about what people actually ask when they want change from the Royal Mail. Or do you actually want to be able to tear up the actual terms of employment for the posties who actually do the work at the moment, completely upturn their work-life balance, right? Maybe it's just me, I genuinely don't care about next day delivery. I just like getting the post every morning, know what time it's coming, and be able to have access to that all the time, rather than have continuous fucking, courier services happening random times during the day. I don't care about that stuff. Maybe that's just me.
Strike action has cost us £100 million a day so far after 8 days of strike action. And the other thing as well is that we have put an offer on the table, an enhanced offer on the table of a 9% pay deal over 18 months, which is costing the business £400 million, even though we are losing that £1 million a day. We need to change.
But you've been given out £567 million to shareholders, though, so you can afford it.
We need to change for our customers, to give our customers what it is that they need.
OK, I mean, I get that, Simon, but the business has been very profitable.
As he's about to say, if the customers weren't getting what they needed, how come the company has been so profitable, so much so that even after operating profits and new reinvestment, they're still giving out £500 million to shareholders, right? Clearly, the customers are getting what they want.
For the last 2 years, postal workers were asked to work through the pandemic, and they did that uncomplainingly. Why don't they deserve a pay rise linked to the cost of living now?
Well, what I would say is that
it's not just about the pay, it's about the actual terms and conditions, about the issues with agency workers as well.
Really focused on is giving the customers what they want. And I think that in the context that we have of losing £1 million a day, and we all can see what's happening around us, both the cost of living crisis that, of course, our team are not immune to, and the fact that the market out there is more challenging in the recessionary reality is that our volumes have come down. These things are true. But what we want to do and what we're really focused on is giving our customers what it is that they need. And I think we can all see that the world has changed around us. We're all getting less letters and people want more parcels.
Fewer letters.
But within that context, what we need is the change. And we're happy to pay for the change, and the more change, the more pay. And we feel that the 9% pay deal against our context of losing £1 million a day is incredibly fair. And the other thing I'd also like to add as well, Ian, is that during our recent intensive talks, and a big thank you to ACAS, who have been magnificent in terms of supporting us, we've also made some key concessions based on what it is that our team have asked for, such as voluntary working on a Sunday. And Ian, if we had been talking last Friday and you'd asked me whether I was confident that we would have had an agreement this week, I would have said yes.
So what's gone wrong?
Well, I think that's a great question, Ian, and it's not one that I can actually answer. But what I would really encourage the CWU to do...
It's because you're refusing to talk about the actual conditions of employment that you're trying to rip up.
...is to reflect on what changed since last Friday and perhaps get themselves back in the mindset of where we all were last Friday after some very constructive and intensive talks that even went over the weekends. And they've still got a chance to save Christmas and their members' jobs. And I would also just like to add, it's really important to emphasise that more of our units are open today and more of our people are actually back at work today.
You've talked about the need for modernisation, Simon, but I mean, it's been known for years. It was known at privatisation that Royal Mail needed to modernise. Why have you only just started pushing through modernisation in the last year or so?
Well, Ian, I can only reflect on my time as a chief executive over the last 20 months. And, we've invested.
Oh, yeah. So, Boy Meets Mini, like, literally, the line that's coming from, like the media are literally trying to tell us that the unions are gonna ruin Christmas, right? Because there's train strikes between the 15th and the 19th, and there's mail strikes in a similar week as well. So literally trying to tell us that the unions are ruining Christmas. That's the line. It's crazy. Although, to be fair to this interviewer here, is doing a really good job of trying to hold Mr. Thompson here to account.
£900 million on the infrastructure to win in the market. We've our beautiful super hub in Warrington is up and running, is ramping up the plan. We had parcels automation that was less than 30% less than 2 years ago. We're now at the 70% mark, and now it's at our super hub in the Midlands as well, which means we can really compete and win in the parcels market, and that was looking magnificent as well, and that will come on stream in the summer. So what I am really focused on is what's ahead of us, and what I would say is that our customer experience on the doorstep remains really great. The Citizens Advice did a survey last week, and we are #1 versus our competitors, and a big thank you to our team.
So they don't need to fucking change. Right? If you're already #1, then this reform that you need to become more like DPD or more like DHL is nonsensical. If you're already winning, why are you trying to become more like the people who you're already beating? This makes no fucking sense, Simon. Royal Mail is ruining Christmas for their workers, actually, and for customers because people won't want to work for them. Well, 100% exactly.
For making that happen on the doorstep as well. Our infrastructure is coming on stream exactly as we planned. The problem to solve is the ways of working, and we are happy to pay for that change, and that's why we have offered a £400 million worth of 9%.
Then why are you also trying to get in agency workers at 20% less pay
Increase over the next 18 months?
Now, your parent company, International Distribution Services, has been talking increasingly about spinning off GLS, which is the very profitable international parcels business. What sort of future would a standalone Royal Mail have under those circumstances?
Well, Ian, what I'm focused on is turning around Royal Mail in the UK. And, I said it very, very clearly last year at our half-year results that I will do and we will do whatever it takes. We did say back at our age...
Fuck it, honestly, I just don't care at this point. I want the CW to ruin Christmas. I want the RMT to ruin Christmas. I want them to show everybody that these people are fucking necessary. They are key workers. This country relies on the backs of the working people of this country, right? And when they get treated like shit by the government in the case of RMT, or by Simon Thompson in the case of Royal Mail, right? They won't fucking stand for it. And we will hold up the country. We will fucking ruin Christmas, right? If this is what it takes to get people to realise that this shit is important, fuck it. Do it. I don't care at this point. Ruin it. Fine. I want them to. And then every kid at Christmas will know that it's literally this man on screen that is to blame for their Christmas being ruined.
GM earlier on in the year that, of course, all options are open and we won't cross...
They're absolutely 100% leeches, Boy Meets Mini. 100%. They are absolutely fucking parasites. They're useless parasites. They do nothing. They literally do nothing other than take money away from people who do real work. Who actually, as Mick Clinch would say, build the wealth of our civilization. They're pointless. They do nothing. They supply nothing. They are scroungers. They are legitimately scroungers, except instead of scrounging off of the rich, right? These people are scrounging off the backs of actual hardworking people of this country. British people don't deserve Christmas after the last election. They basically voted to take it away anyway. Well, I mean, true.
Subsidised between GLS, our international business, and Royal Mail in the UK. But look, I'm focused on the turnaround. And what we need is the change to win and compete in the market. And I've always been confident that we can do just that.
But you're already winning. You're #1. You're already competing really well. If you're top of the industry already, as you have admitted to in this interview, then why are you trying to say that you need to become more like your competitors to be able to beat them when you're already beating them with the current model? This is completely nonsensical, Simon.
Our customer experience is great. Our infrastructure is coming on stream. What we need is the ways of working to reflect that, and we've always said we're happy to pay for that, and that is exactly what our deal is about.
Well, something else that could really benefit you is a watering down of the universal service obligation, which obviously costs you a great deal of money. I mean, that's in the gift of the government. What doesn't the government get about the need to alter the terms of the USO?
Well, in terms of the USO, there are two key criteria that need to be met. One is that it's financially viable, and one that it meets the needs of the customers. I think if we start with the needs of the customers, I mean, Ofcom did their own review some time back that said that a 5-day letter service would meet 97% of customers' needs. It's also worth bearing in mind, and I think we can all see that in terms of our own letterboxes, that in 2004-2005 we delivered 20 billion letters a year. It's now 8 billion, and actually during COVID the letter decline was around about 25%. And what the customers also say is they want a 7-day parcel business. I think in terms of the financial viability
Evidence of this? I think most of us are fine with no post on Sundays. We've all watched Harry Potter.
side of stuff, we're losing £1 million a day. This year we're forecast to lose between 350 and 450 million pounds.
Good, I hope it fucking cripples your share price. Right, I hope it literally fucking cripples your share price. I don't give a shit anymore, right? I hope the share price fucking tanks because of the strike action, and I hope you get fucking fired. I hope you, Simon, I hope you end up eating out of fucking bins. That's how much I fucking despise these people. They're waste, they're human waste. They're pointless, they do nothing. Oh, I'll have to check that out, Scribby. Thanks for the heads up.
Okay. What we want to do is make sure we're doing the right thing for the customers, which is a 7-day parcel service, and make sure that's what we're investing in. And we're spending our time also on what customers want and not on what customers no longer want.
All right, Simon, before I let you go, should I be posting any presents that I buy online now in order to them giving them a chance of getting to my loved ones by Christmas Day?
Well, Ian, I feel very sad to say what I'm going to say. And what I would, be clear is please go to our websites and have a look at the latest information. And we will do everything that we can. And a big thank you to our non-operational managers who are out and about delivering today. But I would say to everyone...
Fucking scab. Thank you to the scabs. Yeah, see, if you are a scab, you're a little cuck bitch boy to these fucking millionaire wankers, right? That's what you are. You're a cuck. If you're scabbing, you are cucking yourself out to people who literally would not give a shit if you lived or died. Like, you're selling your soul. That's what you're doing if you're scabbing right now.
Please post early for Christmas.
Now, Simon, we spoke to Dave Ward from the CWU earlier. I mean, you talked about having held discussions with him over the weekend. He told us on Sky News this morning he'd be prepared to meet with you today or tomorrow. Is that possible?
Like, there's someone I follow on Twitter. I'm not going to say who it is, right? But he was literally tweeted out, right? He's not on the picket lines. Anything to do with pay, right? If they change the conditions and the working hours with the agreement that they've said is their final offer to the union, he will lose 4 hours a day with his own daughter, spending time with his family. You literally cannot put a fucking price on that shit. But this is neoliberalism. Everything has a price now, and people like him, they know the price of everything and the value of fucking nothing.
Ian, we are always available to talk, but I just want to make it really clear that we have been talking intensively over the last 3 weeks with the help of ACAS, including all of the weekends, and we have now made our final offer. So what I would really encourage the CWU to do, and actually the CWU leadership to do, is really take the chance now to reflect on saving Christmas and their members' jobs. And I really hope that they make the right decision.
I hope they ruin Christmas. I hope they ruin yours especially. I hope your children are crying on Christmas Day, Simon. Absolutely vile. Let's see what Dave Ward had to say on Sky News.
I'm a small business owner that depends on the Royal.
Could government just set up an SOE from scratch to compete with these companies, or that's just too difficult? I think Canada government set up an SOE for car insurance or something like that. They should just renationalise Royal Mail. That's what they really should do. They should just renationalise it. And that's what I hope can happen as a result of these strikes. If the share price tanks, so much so that they can't get this deal through with this private equity firm or whatever it is they're trying to sell it off to, then that makes it more ripe for renationalisation. We wouldn't have this ridiculous kind of desire to become just another fly-by-night courier service with shitty conditions if it was still treated like an British institution that it should be, rather than just another random fucking competitor in the marketplace of delivery services. The post office was also proposing that drivers become self-employed. Yeah, exactly. Just get rid of everyone's terms, get rid of everyone's conditions. Everyone's an independent contractor with no holiday pay, with no sick pay, with no paternity leave, no maternity leave, none of that shit, right? That's the future that they want, right? I joined the workforce 11 years ago. I'm 31 now, right? I've been a member of the workforce since before the time the Tories had to ruin this shit. I get holiday pay. I get sick pay. I don't get a very good pension, right? That was taken away by boomers voting the defined benefit pensions away, but at least I have got a pension, right? Zoomers growing up right now, getting into the workforce now, they're all independent contractors working on, you know, precarious, casualized workforces with no holiday pay, with no sick pay, with no pension, with no maternity pay, with no paternity pay. They get none of that shit, and this is what the unions are fighting for. This is what the unions are fighting for every single day, and that's why every young person in this country needs to back them, because the world of work is being ripped up. The neoliberal order promised us that if we got rid of our terms and conditions and our non-precarious work, right, that we could be gifted cheap consumer items. And now we're in the midst of a cost of living crisis, from huge amounts of cuts, from privatization of natural monopoly industries, right? Because of all that kind of stuff, or even the treats that we sold our souls for are now completely unaffordable. And the people who voted this shit through, the boomers, are now telling the kids growing up now they're not allowed the treats anymore. It's nonsense. This is the rot at the heart of neoliberalism that treats everything and every single one as just another commodity. It destroys society from the inside. It is ripping the fabric of our society apart. Even the US Postal Service treats their couriers better. Exactly. And every single day, I will continue to support them. And like Zoomers, if you're watching at home, right? It does not have to. This is not what the world of work is supposed to be like. You're not supposed to be going home saying, "I did 65 hours this week. I'm on my grind," or whatever, with my 2 side hustles. That's not what the world of work is supposed to be like, kids. That's not what it was ever like until neoliberalism, until your terms and conditions got destroyed by people who wanted to sell off your futures. Boomers sold off your futures to get fucking cheap TVs. That's what they sold you off for. And now you don't even get the fucking cheap TVs anymore, because we're not allowed to have consumer items because of the austerity policies of the Cameron administration and the knock-on effects ever since then. And they sold your future for it. Cheap consumer items. That's all it was for. The promise of cheap consumer items. But that's the issue is Boy Meets Minis. Even if they are rich kids who feel like they need to be on the grind or whatever, these are still the people like fucking Gary V, and his whole platform, right, is about trying to teach people that their own failure can only ever be attributed to them being bad, or not trying hard enough, or not spending every single hour of their day trying to grind for the additional money that they should be getting, right? When what they really should be is we should just have jobs that pay, basic jobs that everyone should have access to, should pay you the basic amount of money that you need to live. You don't need to have a side hustle. You shouldn't need to be working 60, 70 hours a week on the hustle, on the grind every week to justify your own fucking existence and pay for basic shit. And that was how the world worked pre-1980, before the neoliberal reforms of the Thatcher and Reagan administrations, right? And again, these things were sold off by entitled boomers to be able to get the future cheap consumer items. That's what was taken away from young people. If people just look at these services the way they view Rose, then people would have much more respect for the institutions. Well, 100%, Samson. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's the lure of things like OnlyFans, things like Uber, like the be your own boss type stuff. Sure, it's great if you're in the tiny minority, right, that gets to make an incredibly lucrative career out of it. But you're not. You are the minority. The vast majority of people who get into something like, for example, OnlyFans, do not make enough money to be able to live on, and they don't get holiday pay, they don't get sick pay, they don't get maternity pay, they don't get a pension. That all has to come next. Because they're they're independent workers. And what do OnlyFans contribute to this? They take 20% off of the top as a server to host your content. That's it. That's all they're doing, and they're taking 20% of your revenues out of it. Uber take 25% out of like rideshare services. This is not a functioning society. I remember the ads trying to sell us British gas shares like that would benefit anyone with those with billions in the bank. Well, yeah, 100%, right? Work to earn the right to exist. One who said that 80 years ago. Well, yeah, exactly. Anyway, let's go back to the union bosses, because they're cool.
Mail to deliver my online sales. I've lost thousands because of these strikes at a time that we desperately need the sales to pay our bills. Why is it OK for you to not accept a perfectly reasonable deal while we suffer, is what Katie says.
Well, the first thing, Katie, is that, we don't want to see your business suffer in that way. But what I'd say to you is that what Royal Mail are doing will destroy the service that you like and that you want forever. That's the reality of it. There's not a reasonable deal on the table. I've already explained that. I've not even spoken about pay.
I mean, literally during the Cameron and Osborne years, right? They cut disabled benefits so much, or I'm not using the word benefits. Fuck it. They cut up welfare payments for disabled people so much. There was a United Nations probe into human rights abuses against the disabled. That's how bad shit got during the Cameron and Osborne years.
At this point, I think the vast majority of our members are terrified now of losing their job. That is what we're facing. That is what the company are doing.
Because of modernisation, or what? Why?
Well, for what they call modernisation, yeah. So what the company want to do is to start deliveries up to 3 hours later. They're asking us to sign up to that, and what we're saying is that's part of a wider plan to end daily deliveries in Royal Mail. It's back to the point I said earlier on.
So you think that daily deliveries are going away?
Yeah, definitely. They want to move to a separate parcel company on the lowest possible terms and conditions. That's what this dispute is really about. On pay, the company keeps saying that they've offered our members 9%. They haven't offered 9%. It's not true. If they'd offered, they've offered 7%. That's not fully backdated at all. So it's not the real value of 7%. And they've offered a £500 lump sum. They say that that's worth £400 million over 18 months. Well, we're doing costings on that £400 million. And if it was fully the value of £400 million in an 18-month period, we believe we'd be very close to reaching an agreement on pay. The problem that we've got is that we are now facing this huge assault on our members' jobs. It's not justified. It is being...
You're 100% right, Ling Ling, and that was what the media did during the Blair years and the Cameron years. Like, benefits Britain, benefits Street, right? Literal fucking, like, welfare porn on TV to try and get you to viscerally hate people, to make you think that they've got some benefit that you don't, and really, all it is a welfare payment to keep these people alive, basically, right?
Being done because this company have grossly mismanaged their finances. They made £758 million profit back in May, and in a matter of weeks, they are losing over £1 million a day. That's not the fault of postal workers. That's the fault of the people at the top of the company who gave £567 million to shareholders. They knew all of these issues with the economy, with the market that we operate in were coming in. Didn't stop them saying, shareholders, you have £567 million, record bonuses to the CEO. And they've ended the cross-subsidy, so they own an international company that made over £400 million. And unlike Deutsche Post, the German post office, unlike La Poste, the French post office, who would have used that money to support and grow the infrastructure of the services in their own country, our leaders give it away to shareholders.
Okay.
And they've ended that cross-subsidy. And what we're saying, Kay, they are deliberately creating this situation to drive through unacceptable change.
Based and true.
We're looking at health service.
Let me have a look at the clip from LBC. Let me have a look. I think I brought it up here. That's the one.
Hi, Ian. Hi, Dave.
Hi there.
Hi. Yeah, well, I just wanted to say, like, I've spoken to many posties, and, you know, I've always found them honest and hard-working people, and obviously you do build up the relationship. So I'm asking, I'm a member of the public, what can we do to, you know, support our posties and to get this man out? Because my worry is that, you know, something that's so iconic, Royal Mail, once it's...
She fucking gets it. This lady fucking gets it. Oh my God. This is the kind of shit that we need. People treating this like an institution that it is.
Gone. It's gone. And I don't want to see that. So I want to know what we can do as the public to support you, Dave.
Like, the fact that, like, yeah, you're absolutely right, Ling Ling. Like, the fact they can just keep getting away with this shit, right? What we're seeing, like, with human rights abuses at Manston, Grenfell is a big one. How is anyone voting for the Tories after Grenfell? I have no fucking clue.
Well, Debbie, first of all, appreciate your call and appreciate the fact that you recognise, like millions of other people, the role that postal workers have in society. They are the social value, as well as, you know, really sort of strong contributors to the UK economy. What can you do? I think show your support to your postal worker. I'm sure you're doing that. But write to Simon Thompson. Show put it through the post as well, because it'll keep the business going, and write to Simon Thompson and say that you want to see Royal Mail in the way it is, you want to see it innovating, and you want postal workers to have a job, and that you think that what he's proposing to bring in other workers to replace hard-working postal workers is outrageous, and get as many as your friends and family to do the same. Because this is, without doubt, the most bitter attack, brutal attack on hard-working people, decent people, who have served the company, most of them for years and years and years. And I say to you now, Debbie, you know, you can say it to any other member of the public who's listening, speak to your postie and they will tell you what's really going on in Royal Mail.
Oh, he's so fucking based. He's so good. He's just too good. Oh, I had other stuff up as well. Let me find it. Yeah, actually, there was a really good bit which Matthew Wright was talking about like the sell-off of Royal Mail and what the sell-off of Royal Mail was done to do. Because again, we can all see that the privatisation of this has failed, right? We can all see that it's the creeping in of the desire to be able to squeeze every ounce of profit out of the industry is causing detriment to the workers and also the customers too. From what we're seeing right now, like we can all see why privatisation failed, and Matthew Wright did a really good job of talking about it on I think it might have been Good Morning Britain actually. Let me have a look. Oh no, it might have been Holly and Phil.
An important issue, which is striking industrial action, and people think they need to strike and pay, and actually
5% payoff, I think, is what they're being given versus inflation of 11%. And also, if you'll forgive me, we have very short memories in this country. So when the Royal Mail was sold off by the Tory coalition in 2013, it was massively undervalued. So hundreds of millions of pounds, in some views, billions of pounds, just disappeared due to bad management of the sale.
Bad management of the sale. I mean, deliberately underselling it. Like, basically all of the fucking public utilities were when they got sold off by the government during the neoliberal reforms, right? All of that shit. Like, deliberately undersold because it would benefit their mates in that industry. It's all a con. It's all a con to benefit their mates. I mean, Vince Cable almost certainly had... actually, was it... Yeah, it would have been Vince Cable would have been business secretary at the time, so it would have been a combination of Vince Cable and George Osborne.
Sale also saw the pension fund, which was a massive liability, removed. So we, the taxpayer, are left with the pension fund, while the people that bought the stocks and shares, they just got the cream. There was a lot of cream in the Royal Mail, and suddenly, thanks to privatisation, when it comes to paying the people that do the deliveries, we've got no milk, we've got nothing for you. You know, it's just... Less than 10 years ago, that was a business worth billions, which was undervalued. And here we are, less than 10 years later, that we owned. Thanks to privatisation, the businesses, they're looking at selling it. One of the arguments, one of the rumours, I should say, is selling it to a Czech-run, Luxembourg-based hedge fund, for want of a better word, investment fund. And the Royal Mail have sort of been quite circumspect about discussing it. But that's one of the views of the union, that this industrial action is being... No payoff is being done to fatten up the Royal Mail for yet another sale.
100%, absolutely, yeah, literally just asset stripping this shit. And as Carol Vorderman points out, we owned that shit. That was our Royal Mail. That was belonged to the public as a public asset. And it got sold off, like, fucking unscrupulously by a government who wanted to make a quick buck, whether because they had the ideological predisposition to making sure that they believed the market would do a better job of it, also because they wanted to benefit their mates. Right, we lost that. That was our money and our asset as the public that got sold off on the cheap. And now it's our own postal workers that are getting screwed over at the end of the day, right? It's all fucking failed. It's all failed. And it's a really good expose of it. And it just brings it all to bear, right? What's happening in the private sector, what's happening since the neoliberal reforms, since people's contracts have been torn up, since people's conditions have been torn up, since people's pay has been depressed, over all of this time, right, is businesses have raked in millions and millions and millions of pounds worth of shareholder dividends, of bonuses paid out to their CEOs and their executives, all that kind of stuff, all the asset stripping, all of the the private equity money that's been taken out of all of the things that we hold dear that should have been extra money for the exchequer to be able to keep our taxes down, right? All that kind of stuff. We see what the issue is. At the end of the day, right, the class war is here. The class war is here right now. It's at your doorstep, right? Either you're standing with the workers on the picket lines, supporting them in their fight against avaricious, profit-hungry cannibals trying to devour the corpse of Royal Mail, right? Either you're on the picket lines with them or you are the enemy. I'm sorry, that's just the case, right? If you're not standing on the picket lines with workers, you are standing to benefit the people who literally would not give a shit if you could put food on your kids' tables or not. So you have a choice now. Either you stand on the picket lines and you stand with workers, or you're making yourself the enemy. I'm sorry, the class war is here right now, and you have to choose. Yeah, exactly, Blood Doll. That's the biggest issue with Starmer as well, is that the things that he's proposing are not going to fix the problems. Things will continue to get worse, just less worse and less quickly than they would be with the Tories. He's not advocating for the proper structural reform to this country's economy that is necessary to be able to protect working people. It's the same thing they're facing in the United States with the rail workers. Mainstream news outlets are framing it as hurting consumers when what's actually hurting all of us is the shitty contract. Well, exactly, right? Exactly. And that's why you'll see people like Talk TV always look at this in terms of, well, people in the private sector aren't getting this stuff, right? Why should public sector workers take taxpayers' money to do X, Y, Z? When I'm like, oh, the Royal Mail is now in the private sector, right? The RMT is the rail workers, that they're negotiating mostly with the private sector as well. It's just the nurses that are public sector workers, explicit public sector workers who are striking right now. But they'll always say, well, look, these people aren't going on strike. These people don't even get paid as much as you do. And I'm like, yeah, because they're trying to turn people who have the same material interests against each other to ensure that they maintain class solidarity. Because the rich will always have class solidarity. That is the thing. There is always there's one section of society who know what their material interests are, and it's the fucking rich. They always have class consciousness. As Warren Buffett said, the class war is happening, right? And it's my class, the billionaires, that are winning. And he's right. Warren Buffett is completely correct, right? I hate having to say a billionaire's correct, but he's true, right? They are winning, and they are the ones waging the class war. And if you don't fight back, you will see what's happened. You vote Conservative, you don't stand with the unions, you let your employer walk all over you, and what do you have? 12 years of depressed wages, 12 years of torn up conditions, 12 years of austerity, 12 years of declining living standards, all of that kind of stuff, and that's because you won't stand up for yourself. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm sorry, I will continue saying this, the class war is here. You have to decide whose side you're on. Starmer's how we slow down disasters or prevent it, but the trouble is, if people elect him, only to find 5 years later the Labour movement has failed them, then what? Fucking knows what comes out of that, but I can't imagine it's anything very good. Well, that's the issue, right? Is that we've got 5 years of Starmer, or possibly even 10 years of Starmer, followed, and where the structural reforms don't happen, and then what do the Conservatives get in and then continue to make things worse, right? Like, there's no like, what do you do after that? And we're going to wait 15 years for proper, like, social democratic government? Like, how long can we wait? Exactly, doesn't matter how hard you work, that's why I only work 8 hours a day and get my stuff done on time. Well, exactly, or quiet quitting, as it's now called. Yeah, apparently doing your job is now quiet quitting. That's another little bit of media propaganda and consent manufacturing that you're all being fed, that you coming to work and doing your job as you've been told to do every single day is somehow analogous to you not turning up to work at all. That's how much the media class is completely in league with the bourgeoisie in this particular instance, right? As they always have been, because they are the bourgeoisie, right? These people, these newspapers in the UK, they're all owned by oligarchs, right? They're owned by billionaires. That 70% of the media of the news media in this country is owned by 3 fucking people, right? It's either Murdoch or it's Viscount Rothermere or it's the Barclay brothers. They own the vast majority of our media. So guess what? The media will then also parrot those same lines as well. 100%, Messiah, 100%. And that's why I actually think Sky News have done a pretty good job, because Comcast is one of the very few just companies who haven't been doing this stuff to be able to benefit specific people. It's weird that Comcast is suddenly the least bad, because they're not, although it's called Sky, it's not News Corp affiliated like it is in Australia.
What would you say to the government, employers, and what would you say to the public? Dave, start with you first.
I'd say that this country, more than at any point in our history, needs a new deal for working people. I think we need to give workers a greater voice in the way that companies are run. I think we should have more people...
Which is true. We do need workers on boards. We need inclusive ownership funds. We need the right to own. We need all those things and all those Corbyn policies that I told you about in the segment I have on my YouTube channel called Corbyn Was Right Part 1. There's an exceptionally good reason why you don't see people begging in Mayfair or Belgravia. The rich give them sweet fuck all. Actually, being rich makes you a miserable human being, right? We have the data showing that people don't need to be filthy rich to be happy, and the amount of happiness you get from money plateaus at just above kind of, median, kind of mean income, rather, not median, mean income, right? We know that being filthy rich does not make you happy. It turns you into an avaricious, like human flesh, like empty suit, right? Like a flesh suit. That's what he turns you into. Completely avaricious and to the point of nausea. You become a bad person by being this rich because, these people, they would get very rich. They didn't get very rich by giving money away to people. They got very rich by taking money from people. Especially if you're someone who got rich through private equity, when literally all you did was take away the money that other people have created just because of the fact that you had money to start with. Why do you think these people will always have this huge dick measuring contest over how rich you are, rather than just saying, oh, well, I've got an eight figures worth of net worth. Right, I'm going to sell all my share ownership and I'm just going to live the rest of my life, rather than just continually trying to accrue additional assets and additional wealth to try and be better than the other person who's accrued all their assets and wealth over time. The poor of this country give a higher percentage of their money to charity than the super rich. Well, 'twas ever thus, right? It's always been the case. Like, how many times have you ever been at the pub with your mates, right? And it's always the fucking rich kid who's like, well, actually, my drink was 15p cheaper than yours, so I'm only putting in £3.85. When it's the mates that who are regular folk who are not rich, who are just like, yeah, it's fine, we'll just do the round for everybody. That's just how it is. These people are avaricious. That's what they are.
Who are on the boards, so that the experience of workers and customers, we should have more customers on the boards of companies where you provide services. And we need fresh ideas in the world of work. We can't carry on and rebuild the economy and grow businesses on the basis of constantly playing to the lowest common denominator. It is outrageous. Governments are actually subsidising the pay often of working people, because these companies are getting away with constantly
not just subsidising their pay, but subsidising their housing as well, right? There's plenty of people who are in work getting housing benefit to be able to pay for the fact that the rent is too expensive because all of the houses have been bought up by fucking landlords or private equity landlords as well.
Saying that modernisation has to be that you have people with no proper contracts,
other people's time,
no holiday pay, sick pay,
up
a big change.
Okay, up to Manchester Doctor. What would you say to the politicians and to the public in 90 seconds, please?
Well, we've got a crisis in the NHS, 7 million on waiting lists, serious problems with our workforce. If you want to solve that, it is a solvable problem, and we want to help you solve that. We want to talk to you about retention. We want to talk to you about pay and pensions. You are able to stop strike action in the health service if you so wish. You just have to be willing to come to fair deals with us on the issues that matter to health workers, doctors, nurses, paramedics, and across the health service.
What would you say to politicians and the public?
I would say that public services are on their knees. They were decimated during austerity, and now there's another round of austerity on public servants. If you want people to be well educated, if you want them to be able to go to work, it's because they've got their illnesses, they've got their operations when they need them. If you want them to be supported when their families are in struggles, and you want children's social workers, and if you want a decent state and you want civil servants who do the public services which are needed and support public services, then you have to talk to public sector workers, you have to talk to workers, and you have to stop the longest squeeze on pay since the Napoleonic Wars. You have to stop that. Okay. We've had 12 years of not being talked to. We need a conversation now.
OK. Eddie, we started with you, so let's end with you as well. What would you say to the politicians and to the public?
I'd say now's the time to change. I'm with Dave on this. We have got to have change in this country. We've got to have a fairer society where people are looked after. And I mean that in terms of wages, in housing, in pensions, in the NHS. We need a sea change in this country. That means the people in this country are looked after better, because we can do it. Things don't have to be like this, so we need some change.
And let's also talk about the fact that the strikes are still on at the moment. We're still waiting for junior doctors to have their votes. But from what you were saying, the newsline for me is that potentially the strikes could be called off if you get a more promising conversation with the Transport Secretary.
So we'll be meeting the employees today. We'll meet the Secretary on Friday, and we're prepared to negotiate and have planned to right the way through the...
Yeah, 100% Scribby. Yeah, they see charity as a way of essentially, you know, essentially washing their hands of the bad stuff that they've done. Zizek's got really good essay about this, about they call themselves liberal communists, right? Or he calls them liberal communists, which is a really interesting way of viewing it. It's a really good essay. Philosophy 2 mentioned it in a video about Elon Musk. Yes, it is indeed a good time to shill, HK. Thank you. If you're enjoying the stream, you can be a member on YouTube for 99p. You can also become a subscriber on Twitch for $3.99. And both of these options will get you emotes, although the more you pay, the more emotes you get. If you want to like the stream, please do that. And also, if you want to drop bits, you can also do that in Twitch chat, or do direct donations by typing in !donate in chat. Jimmy Savile used works of charity to hide his crimes. True, very, very true.
The weekend into the wee hours if we have to.
Okay.
To try and get a settlement for next week.
Okay.
And if
What
we
do
can
you
get
need?
one, that's great.
We need
Very
the
quickly.
company to stop attacking our members every single day of the week, and we need them to get in the room and negotiate.
What do you need?
Our ballot doesn't finish until the middle of January. There is time for the government to sit down with us and negotiate, and that's what we want to do.
And in Manchester, what do you need?
What we need is pay restoration and a pension solution, both of which are crucial for retention.
OK. Thank you all very much indeed for joining us on the programme.
Based. Fucking, we got this... Scribby with the subscription. Actually, Glenn Perry gifted a sub to Scribby. Thank you very much for the gifted sub. Thank you. Welcome to the No Justice stream. I hope you're all doing well. So yeah, support your local union and support your postie. Do that thing. Join a union yourself, right? Join a fucking union. tuc.org.uk/join a union. Go into that page, find a union and join one. Thank you, Miss Hire. I need me and Kev need to do another stream sometime soon. It's been a while.